Welcome to That's Good Sports. I'm Brandon. We can't call this the no-fly zone 2.0 Perna. Now, the Broncos added a nice corner in the Bears' Bryce Callahan, and he's good at football too. If you remember, we stressed the importance of finding corners to complement Chris Harris Jr. in a previous episode. Well, in his introductory press conference, Bryce said, "Chris Harris is a guy I modeled my game after. Chris Harris has the kind of teeth that would make an ivory dealer jealous. On the field, Chris Harris Jr. is a shutdown corner, but off the field, he's a man with an open heart." So it's fair to say Callahan gets it. But I stick by my stance that the no-fly zone 2.0 is doomed to fail. Unless it's The Godfather, Back to the Future, or the first set of Star Wars, the sequel is never as good as the original. Imagine how mad we would have been if they made an 11 Things I Hate About You, a She's All That and More with Mandy Moore added to the cast, or worst of all, an Avatar 2. So in this episode, we will figure out a new nickname for the elite Denver secondary, recap all of the Broncos free agency moves and how it improved the team, and see if the Darron Lee rumors have any girth to them. That's good sports. If you don't want me to become a free agent, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, this episode is sponsored by Audible. You can use my link in the description, audible.com/thatsgoodsports, or text That's Good Sports to 500-500 to start your 30-day free trial, which includes a free audiobook of your choice. I'm into hour 6 of the 33 total hours. That is the Game of Thrones first audiobook. And I'm realizing how young all of the kids are in the book compared to the show. Anyway, Audible members can choose 3 titles every month, 1 audiobook and 2 Audible originals that you can't hear anywhere else. As an Audible member, you get 1 free book every month. That's better than the library, because you don't have to leave your house. If you don't like a book, you can swap it, and unlike streaming or renting services, you own your Audible books forever, which oddly enough is the title of the next book I want to listen to. Again, it's audible.com/thatsgoodsports, link in the description to start your 30-day free trial of listening to audiobooks on any device, anywhere. audible.com/thatsgoodsports. Darron Lee. Who is that? Well, he's a 2016 first-round draft pick who plays linebacker for the New York Jets, and he was born October 18th, 1994. Zac Efron was also born on October 18th, and if you're wondering why I know Zac Efron without a shirt on, then you've never seen his birthday. It's the same day Madonna got married in Evita, the same day Texas Instruments announces the first transistor radio in 1954. Yes, I was surprised the first transistor came out of Texas in the 50s, but at least you know your history now. Lee is also an athletically gifted linebacker who hasn't quite lived up to his potential playing for the Jets. New York, of course, signed C.J. Mosley to a monster deal in free agency and wanted to sign Anthony Barr as well from the Vikings, so the Jets' willingness to trade Lee seems legit. If Lee does land in Denver, it will be because Fangio believes he can get more out of Lee, specifically in coverage. He has great speed, and that would be a natural fit next to Todd Davis, who is best suited to play against the run. If Will Parks resumes more of a safety role now that the Broncos are down a man with the departure of Darian Stewart, then Lee would be a key addition for what should be a top defense in 2019. It's been reported that the Broncos are interested in trading for the Jets linebacker. However, what the Broncos would be willing to trade for Darron Lee depends on what they think of the double Ds in this year's draft. Sure, double Ds might make you think of guys like Vince Wilfork, but I'm talking about the Devons, who both play linebacker. And if the Broncos like either or both Devons, and if they believe they can get one of them at 10, then there may be no need to trade for a guy like Lee. Now, I really thought Vic Fangio would have brought over more than one player he coached in Chicago by now. We knew Bryce Callahan and Adrian Amos were on the Broncos' radar, but I was hoping Denver would sign a Chicago defender we hadn't heard of. A young depth guy Fangio believed was ready to break out like Brandon Marshall when Jack Del Rio came over from Jacksonville. There is time for that to still happen, I guess. Former Bears corner, though, Bryce Callahan, called himself an 8th round draft selection, just like Chris Harris Jr., which makes me a bit worried that if he doesn't know that there are only 7 rounds of the draft, how will he be able to count the differences between a nickel and a dime defense, or a base 4-3 or 3-4, or ever get the order right to 25 or 6-4? As a man who lived in Chicago, he should fucking know that. In Callahan's 4-year career, he's only given up 3 touchdowns. That's 3 TDs while playing 1,374 coverage snaps. In a similar number of snaps, Chris Harris Jr. has given up 4 touchdowns the last 2 seasons, as has Kareem Jackson. That's pretty solid play between the 3, and if you look at 2018, the trio only allowed 2 touchdowns and had a combined 7 interceptions. Bradley Roby alone allowed 6 touchdowns in coverage last year. Isaac Yiadom, in significantly less action, gave up 3 touchdowns, but showed potential at times, or so I'm told. These additions really should benefit the development of Isaac Yiadom, but the best thing about Bryce Callahan is at age 27, he's younger than Jackson and Harris. And don't worry, I won't do that birthday thing again. Oh, Zac Efron. What I need to figure out is a new nickname for the group. No Fly Zone's gone, we have to move on. So maybe just reboot the name like Hollywood does and call them the Anti-Aviation Space. In the vein of the Italian mobster theme, which we're gonna get very tired of, the Cement Shoes, or alternatively, the Corky Romano Crew, CRC for short. In honor of Chris Harris's nickname, Strap Harris, the Strap-On Boys, where wide receivers go to get pegged. Harris can be called Pegatron, the Pick 6 Pricks, or my favorite, let's just call them the Denver Nuggets. I'm actually pretty happy with the moves John Elway has made so far in free agency. The 2 non-signings, Matt Paradis and Shaq Barrett, and 1 re-signing of Jeff Heuerman could be his missteps. They of course traded Case Keenum to Washington, where apparently Jay Gruden doesn't have a clue or any say as to how his team is constructed. But you know what they say in the NFL. Success only comes when your head coach and GM are never on the same page. If they don't know what the hell the other one's doing, then they can just focus on coaching and GMing. Elway started free agency about a month early and traded with Baltimore for Joe Flacco. If the Broncos defense is elite this season, they can be the Ravens of the West, barely missing or being eliminated from the playoffs in the wildcard round, which is an improvement. Departing Denver like Scorsese characters were Matt Paradis, whom signed with the Panthers.
No, whomever is never actually right.
Bradley Roby, who was going to try and replace Kareem Jackson in Houston. Shaq, this one really hurts, Barrett signed a 1-year cheap deal with Tampa Bay. Max Garcia, who tore his ACL last season, signed with the Arizona Cardinals, the #1 place for previously injured linemen to sign. I'm actually surprised they didn't offer Matt Paradis a 10-year, $80 million deal. And Billy Turner, as I previously mentioned, will be protecting Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
Oh, Billy.
Tight end Matt Lacoste crossed over to the dark side, landing in New England. And linebacker Brandon Marshall is off the books. He's a free agent, but has yet to sign anywhere. If nobody makes him a fair offer, he could actually land back with the Broncos. On a team-friendly deal. The Raiders have recently shown interest in him. But then they went and signed Vontaze Burfict. You fucking Raiders. Stupid Raiders. Fucking Burfict. And so have the Baltimore Ravens, who lost C.J. Mosley. Again, I always prefer that there just be a Brandon Marshall on the Broncos roster. The key additions, or in-house re-signings, have included defensive linemen Shelby Harris and Zach Kerr. Kerr said he decided to stay in Denver after he saw what they were putting together on the defense, but mostly after he saw what real estate prices were in San Francisco and New York City. It's always great to have a guy who sticks around because he values home equity. Jeff Heuerman will be back for cheap, and long snapper Casey Crider also returning after Brandon McManus pleaded for Elway to sign him on Twitter. The big 3 moves Denver made were right tackle Juwan James, corners Kareem Jackson, and Bryce Callahan. The Broncos' 3 biggest weaknesses in 2018: quarterback, secondary, offensive line. Each one addressed in via agency or via a trade. Now, the Broncos may or may not be done spending in free agency. They have between $1 and $17 million left in cap space. Again, not even Walter White could explain to you how the cap actually works. He was very smart, if you remember. There are a lot of talented players still available, and the draft to consider at this point. Denver doesn't need a premier pass rusher, so I doubt they do something crazy like sign one of the 11 very good edge rushers, inexplicably not on a roster yet. Safety Eric Berry, released by the Chiefs, has major injury concerns, and I like what the Broncos have done in the secondary. The Zach Kerr and Shelby Harris return probably eliminates a guy like Ndamukong Suh, as would his price tag. I can't even see the Broncos signing a tight end now. Jared Cook would have been great, but they wasted more money on Jeff Heuerman for some reason. Sorry, Jeff, no offense. If the Broncos do sign another free agent at this point, it will probably be a guard or defensive lineman that we've never heard of, or Trey Boston at safety. Someone nobody is connected with the Broncos is my point. Sort of like Paxton Lynch while he was with the Broncos. I can make that joke now because Paxton Lynch is engaged, way out of his league, so I think he's doing okay. Don't kick a man when he's down is what I always say, and by the looks of it, Paxton is always up. And that's your Broncos free agency update. Please subscribe here on YouTube to this YouTube channel. This is a channel on YouTube. If you subscribe to it, that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, at Brandon Perna if you want to follow me there. And the man who helps me write all of these football videos, at WillKey6, give him a follow on Twitter. We're both tweeting stupid shit that's not gonna advance your brain in any way, but it'll kill a few seconds. Just call us the second killers. Trademark.